to Financial Minds Meet the Experts. I'm Jamie Agostino, your host. On this show, we're joined by financial industry experts to talk about topics, trends, and themes that credit unions professionals need to know about. Today, we are back to finish our 3-week discussion on onboarding with Jeanne Heath, Learning and Engagement Champion for Vizzo Financial. Jeanne, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Jamie. This has been fun. I'm excited to finish up our discussion.
All right, so let's dive right in and let's talk about measuring the success of your onboarding program.
Mhm.
How do you evaluate the impact of an onboarding program?
Well, I will tell you, measurement is really important because that's what will get buy-in from your stakeholders. So when you're looking for budgetary things, one of the things with an onboarding program is you always want it to be fun and need to add new things. So if you want to increase your budget, you've got to be able to show measurement. So you want to make sure that you do have that. So we do that in a variety of ways. The first thing that we do is we do an evaluation to the new employee at the end of about 90 days to see how things have gone. And then over time, I look for trends and I will forward those so people can see what the trends are. And of course, if there's anything that is an immediate piece of information someone needs to know, I would share that.
Okay.
But that's one way that we do measurement. The other thing is, it's not 100%, but we look at turnover because a good onboarding program really is going to affect your turnover numbers, meaning that they would be lower. The goal of the program is to ensure that people are engaged and that they stay with the company. And if turnover is low, that's something that will tell you there's been success in the program. I'll tell you at Vizzo, we have hired about 17 people since April of 2020. I'm happy to say all of those people are still with us.
Oh, wow.
So, and I don't have an exact long-term number, but I mean, Jamie, you can share as well. We are very blessed with long tenured employees. So our turnover numbers are very, very low.
Yeah, we do have a long tenured staff.
Mhm.
All right. Can you describe to me the benefits of an onboarding program for the employees, but then also for the leaders?
Mhm. Sure. I think for the first thing it does is it really lays a strong foundation. And one of the things, I've talked about in the other sessions, having an onboarding coordinator. But what I would say is to the extent that they can, that onboarding coordinator needs to try and be in the background because you want to be building that relationship between the new employee and their leader. And really, everything that you do should be set so it looks like the leader planned it all, because that's really what's going to set the good foundation. So I think the benefits show when you have a good foundation, it shows that you're excited for them to join the team. I mean, that's what people want. And it also shows that you have confidence in the decision that you made in hiring that person, the more that you are prepared. And it also builds really engagement from the moment that employee starts interacting with the credit union. And then some of the external benefits from that also are that new employee, it's sort of like that old commercial, they tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on. They're especially at the beginning, people are like, "Oh, how's your new job? How are things going?" And you're building a lot of street credibility when that new employee says, "Oh my gosh, I love this. Can you believe they did this, this, and this?" So I think that's some of the benefits. When you think of leaders, there is productivity. When people are onboarded well, they become productive faster. And again, all of this is we want people to feel like they are part of the team and that they are, engaged with the organization. But the bottom line is productivity. And the faster we can get somebody more productive on the team, the better that is. Um, Sort of also, if you think about that, another benefit is when that coordinator is partnering with the leader. We've talked about this also. There's a lot of things that that leader is doing, especially when you think of our small credit unions. That leader is probably doing 4 and 5 roles. So the more that you can partner with them and support them, one of the benefits is the program actually happens. Not because people don't have good intentions, but sometimes the urgency of the moment gets in the way. So I think those are some of the big wins and benefits of an onboarding program.
Yeah, well, just listening to you say that, you actually just kind of made me think about something. We've been hearing a lot from credit unions about how difficult it's been over the past several months as far as hiring, especially that frontline staff of tellers. And,
Mhm.
you're kind of saying like if you have a good onboarding program, you get a new teller. Well, they might go back to their friends, families, previous coworkers and say how great the experience has been and maybe give you even more draw to the credit union for those positions. So very interesting. So thank you.
Well, and you're right there. I would add to that because if you think about it, some of the best referrals come from existing employees because they're not going to refer somebody that they don't believe in themselves. And this also, to your point, gives real importance to that time period between when you hired them and their first day. So think about the impact you can make if they've not even started and they're like, I haven't even started and I've already gotten a letter, a call, some swag. I mean, you've got small things that will make a big, big difference to your point.
Yeah. What patterns do you see in the productivity and the engagement when an organization prioritizes onboarding?
Well, you're going to see me looking down here because I've got a couple notes around. I think this is a good place to add some statistics. We said measurements is important here. And a great onboarding program, we've already said, can really help with retention. And actually, research by the Brandon Hall Group has said that a great employee onboarding program can improve retention by 82%. I mean, think about that. That's an incredible number, especially when you think about the cost and the time that goes into the whole process. The longer that we can make those employees stay there, the better we are. So I think that's one piece that we see. Not only is it retention, but a great program also increases productivity by about 70%. So your employees become productive faster. And that's what they want. Again, as adults, we don't like feeling like I don't know what I'm doing or like I'm a burden to the team. So the more that we can be doing things to help them feel independent and productive faster with minimal guidance, the more confidence we're building and the better they are. Um, I think we also said that when onboarding is prioritized, engagement increases. Um, and I think also we talked about that referral of their friends and family and other people. Their willingness to refer increases 93% when they get multiple options of that communication that we talked about that. And also when they have their questions answered. So that's when they see their response pretty quickly. 93%, pretty incredible.
Yeah, wow. There's great numbers. I'm kind of like, come on, everyone, let's start an onboarding program.
Yep,
It's great.
absolutely. And from the engagement perspective, you know, we at Viso Financial, we use the Gallup organization's Q12 survey to measure our employee engagement. Now, engagement is made up of a lot of things. It's not just the onboarding program, but I mean, when we're talking about new people, it's a big piece of that. And we find that that is really a pattern to productivity that we see in value as well. We're happy to say that out of all the organizations that use Gallup's Q12, and we're one of the small organizations. They've got organizations with thousands and thousands. Our engagement scores, we're in the top 13% of their database. So those are some of the patterns I see, that people are more willing to refer, they're more productive, and they're much more engaged when you have a great program.
All right, great. You have been leading onboarding programs for a while.
Mhm.
Based on feedback you've received, do you have any insight on what employees find most valuable in an onboarding program?
Mhm. I think that the thing that I find that people like the most are what I call tip sheets, or that's even dating myself a little bit, maybe, now, if your credit union has the opportunity to do little short videos of some of those basic things like how do I create and sign into my voicemail? How do I sign on to the system? How do I open instant messaging? All of those little tiny things that you don't always get the very first time. They love having those little tip sheets or short little videos that they can do so that they can say, I don't need to have my partner Jamie be here very first thing in the morning. I want to be able to sign on myself. So those tip sheets, I think they find really, really valuable. And that you've created value in those if when you're in a real versus virtual environment, sometimes you find them dog-eared, where they'll say, I've had this for so long. I think that's one piece. um, I think the other thing is getting to know other people in the organization. I have found is really something they find very valuable, and because we're in a remote situation, and even when you're in person, a new person, depending on their strengths and their personality, I'm a kind of person, I'd stop everybody in the hall. Hi, how are you? I'm new. What's going on? Lots of people wouldn't do that. So again, it behooves the credit union on your part to set up intentional meetings for that new person to meet other people. And I do a combination of um, some I might say a combination of like water cooler, but also informational. So we've created a list of managers and departments that we set meetings up for the new person to interact with, like 20 minutes. They get introduced to a leader and they learn about that particular product. But we also set up some meetings where I'll bring together three or four other employees or other new hires and just, like, hey, let's spend 15 minutes. I want you to get to know some other people. Maybe I'll know something, again, goes back to that coordinator. Maybe I'll know something that they all have in common. But those are the things that I find are really most valuable. Now, I will tell you, some people will say, oh, that sounds great, but you know what? That's a lot, and I don't want to overwhelm the new person. First of all, I think you need to know the person's strengths a little bit or ask them. Sometimes we think, oh, I don't want to overwhelm the new person, and we give them less and they become a little bit bored. The other thing is, some of these meetings that we do it over like 90 days. So it's not like their first week they have to meet with 25 people. And that actually helps because as the time period goes on, your activities are becoming less and less because they're becoming more independent. So having those opportunities to still meet new people is a great add-in that particular area. So I think those are some of the things that I found that people really appreciate.
Okay. Well, well, Jean, it's just you and me. So my next question, what is the secret to a good onboarding program?
Mm, I
No
think
one
organ.
I said, don't worry, it's just you and me.
I know that's right. So I think organization and consistency. Um, and also I think that element of surprise and delight, I think, are the things that I think, the organization we mentioned in some of the other series, I think, for a new person, if you miss something, makes a big impact. Where you and I have worked together, if I miss something, you understand, like, oh, that's not like Jean, so that's okay. But a new person, so you want to make sure it's organized. The consistency comes in because you don't want someone saying, well, why'd you do that for them and not for me? And the surprise and delight is always looking at your program, because what is a surprise today becomes an expectation tomorrow. Look, you have me whispering as I give my answer.
This is
um,
top secret information.
That's right. That's right. So always looking, is there something new that I can do? Is there something that would make a difference for this person, or that would make our program look fresh or more current? I will give you an insider tip, an example of ours. We send a packet home to people of information around the credit union, the corporate credit union. We're in the process of turning that into an electronic magazine almost,
Mhm.
because really that's just a little more fresher. People are used to things more online. Um, but again, you always have to be looking, so, and don't just look in your credit union, look at other places like, oh, what is it when you see things at other businesses? Or, a lot of people will say, maybe I shouldn't say it here, but, we know that Chick-fil-A is really known for their service. So I look for things there, or I try to talk to people, what was part of your onboarding? So I think those three things are the key.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with borrowing some ideas and
Exactly right.
customizing them to make them your own.
That's right.
All right, so let's kind of switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about Vizzo. So, what resources does Vizzo Financial offer to credit unions to create a successful onboarding program?
hmm well, every year we do a three-part series, and now this I think will be a resource as well. But we also do a three-part series called Onboarding in a Box. And we look at three separate category areas to help you create an onboarding program. And it's a really resource filled onboarding webinar series. So it's not just informational, but the end is we send you a toolkit of templates, and suggestions and examples to really start your own program. The other thing that's nice about that is you're hearing what other credit unions are doing, because through chat and examples, and interaction in the webinar, you're getting ideas from other people as well. So that's one of our main things that we do. Also, informally, we're always happy to talk to anybody. You might think this is great information, but you also, depending again on your responsibilities or where you're at, you may be like, "Oh, I just don't know where to start." You're always welcome to connect with us, and we'll be happy to just sort of talk through that with you and give you some tips and maybe some starters in the program.
Okay. Here's my shameless plug. The webinar series that Jean was just talking about, it's in August. You can register now on Vizzo Financial's website. So there's my little
Mhm.
plug. All right, Jean,
Yes.
what feedback have you received about the success of Vizzo Financial's onboarding program? Whether that's from employees, managers, the chiefs, board, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
Well, I am happy to say that people have said, they felt, one of the things that I like to hear is they felt really welcomed. And to me, that's a great sign of an onboarding program in the beginning. Um, we've also heard, it was really organized. Like, this is more than I've gotten at other places. And if you've been with us through this three-part series, you remember in the beginning, we also put an emphasis on culture first, and sort of the HR benefits, which are still very important, but no one wants to come their first day and sit right down and start signing papers. So we've gotten that feedback, that that was surprising in a good way, that people liked that. Um, we've even heard people say this is the best onboarding program we've gone through. Um, we've heard that from our board and from new employees. Feedback from managers, we hear again that it's really helpful to have our checklists and our partnering, so that their best intentions can become their best actions. And the other thing is, feedback. What I love is, because we've set up the program to be a partnership, and like, hey, we want to do the best we can, people feel really comfortable giving suggestions. And I love that that's part of the feedback. Hey, why don't you do this? Or could you add this to the checklist? Or how about this? Um, and for me, I love that. All it does is, there's no pride in authorship in the program. It's a tool for all of us. So I love feedback that way.
All right, great. Yeah. Me personally, love the checklists.
Mhm.
They work fantastic for me. So, Jeanne, thank you so much for joining me the past 3 weeks to, talk about onboarding. Before I let you go, any final comments or secrets you want to share with our listeners about onboarding?
Um, I would say dream a little bit is what comes to mind. If you're getting ready to create a program, dream a little bit. Read a couple books around programs, or go to places that have great service. That typically comes from a great onboarding program. And what are the things? The other thing is, what are the things you would have liked to see in your when you started, or what are the things that you were like, I wish that didn't happen. I think that's a great place to start. And don't get overwhelmed. You eat the elephant one bite at a time, and you're looking to improve something. So every step is going to be better than the last. So, but I think that's really some final words, and you'll do great. And you know what? Your people will love it. And it doesn't matter. A great onboarding program, whether you are a large credit union or a really small credit union, is a way to really differentiate yourself.
Great. Thank you. And thank you to our sponsor. So today's episode of Financial Minds Meet the Experts is sponsored by Viso Financial's Leadership Workshop. If you're a leader at a credit union who is looking to build upon your leadership skills and make your institution a place of true servant leadership, then Viso Financial's 2022 Leadership Workshop is the place for you. Join Viso Financial's Chief Culture Officer, Joe Bertato, and your peers for these workshops to learn about leveraging employee strengths, embracing servant leadership, building an engaged workforce, and more. This workshop will be highly interactive, so all attendees can put their new leadership skills to the test. Our first workshop will be held in Pittsburgh, PA on June 26th, on June 22nd. If you can't make it, we have 2 additional workshops coming up later in the year. There are more details on our website at Viso Financial, which is www.vfccu.org. Thanks for listening, and I hope you all have a great day.